Welcome to the 5-Star Retirement Show with Patrick Mueller, best-selling co-author of Dare to Succeed and president of Bella Advisors. Today, he'll be sharing his 5-star retirement formula, including lifetime income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, and legacy planning. Here's Chris Monroe and Patrick Mueller.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome into 5-Star Retirement. I'm Chris Monroe alongside co-host Patrick Mueller.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Mueller or Bueller.
Or Bueller. That's right.
And you're with 5-Star, or with Bella Advisors.
Bella Advisors.
Bella
yep.
Advisors, 5-Star Retirement, 5-star points to retirement planning for you.
That's right. You want to have all 5 stars in place for your retirement, just like if you want to be staying at a 5-star hotel. I mean, there's a reason for those stars. I didn't know what they were at first.
What are they called? Michelin ratings?
I had to look it up. Was the Michelin ratings, is that the restaurant?
That's the restaurant.
Is that the restaurant?
But it's different for hotels.
Yeah, it's different for the hotels. And so it's all the little services that you get for each star that you're taking a look at. So, yeah, we got the 5 stars of retirement planning we got to make sure we're paying attention to. So we'll talk about all that stuff today, or do you want me to start listing those things off?
We'll get you to listen. Let's build some suspense.
Let's do it.
We will build some suspense of what those 5
We're not going to give it to
points
you yet.
are. Right. You're going to have to listen so that you and watch. You're going to have to continue to do that. So, but just an amazing opportunity for people to take wherever they're at in their retirement planning, whether they're just starting out, whether they're young and they want to plan toward retirement, or whether they're at retirement age or in retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think some people think that retirement management ends when you retire, that all of a sudden, it's already, I don't have to deal with that, but that's not true.
Not at all. The sooner you start thinking about that, the better of when do you want to retire and what do you want that to look like?
Sure.
So some people, want to retire because they just can't stand what they're doing anymore, or they hate their boss, and they just want to do something different.
I just heard some amens out there in the yeah. That's really sad too, and that's a whole nother show we could probably get into about doing something that you love, but which I've been very, very blessed to do all these years.
Yeah, so I see that with some people. I mean, some people, they love what they do, and they'll continue to do that forever. They'll, whether it's, I deal with some teachers, they just love teaching, and so they'll keep doing that. As one guy I met with recently, where he's in robotics and he's doing all this cool stuff in robotics, and he's like, "This is just what I love doing, and I'm going to keep doing it until I'm just not able to do it anymore." And then you got some people that just they're done.
If all you can do every week is, oh Lord, it's Monday, thank God it's Friday, and all you're looking to retirement is because you hate your job, man, please go find something else. Life is too short.
For sure.
Right? I mean, find something that you love.
There's a million things you could do.
Well, let's talk about, in this segment, safety of money. I mean, people work a long time to put money into a savings account, into a 401k, with retirement planning. And then all of a sudden the market has major volatility, which the market has a lot of volatility, as you know, and some things are more volatile than others. So let's talk about some ways that people can make sure that their money is safe no matter what happens in the market, because there's going to be ups and downs and different administrations and policies and all of that kind of stuff. So one of the things that popped up is investment selection. What people need to do to make sure that they're invested in what's right for them, at their time in life.
Yeah. Well, one good question to ask yourself is, at this stage in your life, how much of your money are you willing to lose?
That's a good point.
And so the closer you get to retiring, that changes a little bit. Are you more concerned about growing your portfolio another $100,000? Are you more concerned about losing $100,000 at this point? And I think most people are typically more concerned about losing, where if they're getting really close to retiring, they want to be protecting that money from loss. And most people that I meet with, when we do an analysis and a stress test on their current investments, the majority of their money is currently at risk in the markets in one form or another. And people are getting really complacent, because here we are. Who would have thought? It's over a decade since 2008, and since we had that last market downfall.
Big crash almost, yeah.
Yeah, so
right.
It's been a rocket ship since then.
We get lulled into sleep into thinking that those investments are going to always go up with the little green arrow. That's just not.
That's what they do, right?
That's
You
what
just put your money. You put your money in, and it's supposed to go up. It's supposed to go up every year.
I actually watched a documentary on the 20s crash, and the euphoria that was behind all the people that were getting into the market at that time. And it's funny how history has a way of repeating itself, and we get lulled to sleep. So, making sure that that you're invested in the right thing. Diversification, something that we hear a lot about. What does that really mean to the average person?
So when we're looking at diversifying, if all your money is tied to something like that, I mean, the S&P has been really good until it isn't good anymore. And we're at all-time market highs in stock market history. So you brought up the crash in the 20s. Well, we're in the longest bull run in stock market history. The last one was 1929. Okay.
And that's why they called it the Roaring 20s. That was part of it, is because the market did nothing but go up until it didn't anymore.
And then you had the year 2000,
right?
When the tech bubble burst. So it was the same thing. Yeah. You had that frenzy that was going on. I still remember
being in watching. I was CNBC or something was on there when NASDAQ hit 5,000 with all the .com booms. 99 into 2000. There was no end in sight. Until there was. So making sure that you're diversified, and there are other investment vehicles too, and you hear about them, whether it's real estate or precious metals. Is that something that you get into as well, or is it more just market based?
We do precious metals too. So it's important to have stuff like that. So usually, for an example, like gold does really good when markets are terrible. People are getting very fearful. Shotgun sales are probably going up. Canned goods and bunker sales are probably going
Meals
up.
Ready to eat. Yeah, right.
That's exactly right. So things like that can be good, but you got to be paying attention to that stuff. So that's why it's important to be invested in actual different asset classes, because every single year, the winner of the asset class race is completely different every single year. So for an example, 2017, it was large cap stocks. 2018, it was U.S. Treasuries. That was the only asset class that finished positive. And then this year so far, it's the S&P.
And all you have to do is look at on any investment, and generally something that's a little bit more volatile in stocks, and look at a 10-year return. 2009, negative 53%. Then the next year it's +2, and then it's +26, and then it's So you're right. Every year it's something different. So the idea behind diversification is making sure that you have something to kind of keep everything level and moving forward.
Yeah. So something that's really important is making sure that people have a certain amount of their money that's safe and protected. That's not in things that are tied to any kind of market. So there are a lot of things that are out there now where you can participate in market growth, but you're not going to lose money if it tanks. And that's why it's so important. These things are really designed really for people who are retiring. And there are other types of accounts if you're still accumulating for retirement, but they call these index accounts.
Okay.
And so with these types of accounts, you're not going to get the full growth of the market, but you're going to get pretty close to it. So for an example, they might have the money tied to the S&P 500 index, and then they'll let you get up to 12 or 13% of the growth of the index each year, and that's where you cap out. But more importantly, if it goes, and they lock that growth in every single year. So on your anniversary date, if it's up 18% like it is this year, they credit your 13%, and then it resets for the next year. But more importantly, the next year, if the market goes down and it tanks 50%, then you stay the same. You don't lose your money.
Well, we'll have to probably get it. I've heard that, but that's something that I just haven't been. The market. You make money whenever, just regardless of the way the market goes.
Yeah.
So that's a new strategy, and something that that obviously people want to look into.
Yeah.
Understanding risk tolerance. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. Some people don't want to lose anything. They want to try to be ultra conservative, or they want to be too aggressive. But I would imagine there's pitfalls on both sides of that, depending on where they're at in their retirement age.
Yeah, everybody likes to make money. Right?
Sure.
Nobody out there likes to lose money. So it's just when you've seen markets going up consistently for over a decade, people are starting to get really complacent on what's happening in the markets. But you got to ask yourself, if you're within, about 5 years away from retiring, if here we are in the longest bull run in stock market history, and if, like you said, history repeats itself, and we do go through another downturn like in 2008 or year 2000, where the market goes down 50%, how's that going to affect you right now? Is that going to put you off from being able to retire? Is that going to change your lifestyle? And if the answer to that stuff is yes, then you got to start changing some stuff.
So if you have $1 million right now in a 401k, and all of a sudden you wake up one morning and it's just worth half that, well, that's still $500,000, but that's a lot less than $1 million.
It's a lot.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, that's when people joke around. They said their 401k became a 201k.
201k overnight, and it can happen, certainly. Short-term money. I think a lot of people tend to not have that, emergency fund on the side. And one of the things that I started to do was just keep it in a 1% money market account. I'm not really concerned about what I'm returning on it. I'm just considered having liquid cash so that I don't have to touch retirement assets or investments.
Yeah, it's what I call SWAN money, where it's an acronym for sleeping well at night.
Okay, so I love that. That's great.
So there's a certain amount of money. So it's very personal. I mean, some
Sure.
people are comfortable not having a ton of money set aside, but average rule is have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside into an emergency fund or a SWAN account. And other than that, it's personal preference. There's a certain amount of money that you like knowing is down at the bank, even though it's earning that 1% interest, that you can just wake up and you can go and get your hands on that money.
Absolutely, that is right there. You know, my grandparents were a little bit older and had adopted my mom, so they grew up in the Depression. And you never find people that saved like that and were as frugal as that. You know, it was just amazing. You just don't find that kind of person. I mean, they paid off their house in like 2 years, because they didn't want to have debt. They wanted to have money in the bank. So we will be back in a couple of minutes with more 5-Star Retirement, helping you to retire better right after this. And welcome back to 5-Star Retirement. I'm Chris Monroe, your co-host, but the man who really has all the answers is Patrick Mueller of Bella Advisors. And Patrick, so glad to be doing the show with you. And
likewise.
And already learning a lot just sitting here with you and talking about these and invest in. And let's be honest, a lot of people, this is not, the kind of conversation that they want to have. We want to make money.
Most people's eyes start glazing over when you start talking about
this. It's like, but it's important, and it's where you need somebody that has the type of experience and guidance that you have to help people retire comfortably. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I say it all the time. It's the first time that you do something is not typically the best time that you do it. And how many times are you planning on retiring?
Right.
So it's really important that you get it right and you got somebody helping
one shot,
you.
Or you're going to be a Walmart greeter, or you're going to be living with your kids. I wonder, with the kids moving back in with their parents, I wonder if that's going to be a thing. You think that the parents are going to start moving back in with the kids? I don't know.
I mean, I definitely see that.
Yeah, it could be, right?
Or they think that's going to be happening. They're like, well, my kids are going to take care of me. And how do they like that plan?
That's not going to work out real well for you. So, change is hard, and things, we went from time before Social Security, when you were kind of on your own. If you didn't put money under your mattress or in the bank, there was nothing. And then Social Security came along. And now Social Security, of course, has changed a lot. And of course, there's a lot of questions. And then obviously, back in the 50s and 60s, pensions were common. They're almost non-existent today. Then the advent of the 401k. So, things have changed a lot. Let's talk about 10 ways that things have changed and how it affects people's retirement planning. And number one is, this is not your father's retirement. This is not, as we said in one of the last shows, not getting your gold watch and going home and playing shuffleboard and bridge and sitting around in your chair all day. I mean, retirement is just different today.
Totally different. I mean, it's almost, with the folks we work with, they're all retired typically, and it's like herding cats a lot of times, because they're all around the world doing, traveling, seeing the world and visiting grandkids or traveling the country. I mean, they're gone. They're more active now than ever.
And why not? I mean, what is the old adage? I'd rather rust out or wear out than rust out.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a ton of truth to that.
Yeah.
Where I see a lot of people that stay very active and they're on the go. I mean, I've got this couple that's in their mid 80s, and man, I don't know where they get their energy. I don't even have that kind of energy. And then I see some folks that they retire and then they don't really have anything to do. And how much I know one gentleman that we work with, and I've just seen him age so much within the last year of him just not keeping himself active and his mind busy.
And you hear a lot of people that, and it's kind of morbid, but they say people go home to die, and that mentality has changed a lot, which is good. However, and then in the next point, number 2, is that we will live longer, most likely, than our parents. And it says here, the average life expectancy for somebody that's 65 right now is 19 more years. I mean, people were dying 40 years ago at 65. and they either took a year or two of Social Security, then they were out of the system and they didn't need. So it's great that we're living longer, but we've got to find a way to pay for it.
Yeah, guys are late 80s, 86, 87. Sure. Women are in their 90s. So 90, I think 93 was the last thing that I saw.
Look at Betty White.
Betty White, and she's still sharp as a tack.
Yeah, unbelievable.
She's so funny.
Yeah, she is still funny. She is still very funny. Number 3, Medicare.
He could be like the George Burns, right? George Burns. And,
what was he, 100?
And, drinking his cocktails. And
smoking his cigars. Yeah. Part of it's your genes, part of it's your lifestyle, but, you got to plan as if you were going to live that long. And if you don't, then planning for what you're going to leave to your family.
Well, I hear this all the time where somebody will tell me, well, Patrick, in my family and my genes, we just don't live that long.
Right.
I don't plan on living past age 80. But then I'm like, well, what if you do?
Well, what if
you're the one who breaks the mold? You don't want to be 80 and at that point and you're out of money.
Yeah, that's a scary proposition. I guess there's another big myth too about Medicare. And here's another government program that was put in to provide safety net for retirees and people that were not in either employer-provided health care or in private health care, but it doesn't cover everything. I mean, it covers, if you're in regular Medicare, and then there's Part D, and then there's this, and, and plus that comes out of your Social Security every month, which a lot of people don't even realize.
Well, a lot of people think that Medicare is going to cover them if they need home health care or assisted living or nursing home care, and it just doesn't. All those things are really limited, and that stuff is really expensive. I mean, average nursing home cost here around Atlanta is about $8,000 a month. And it's growing so fast. The healthcare is growing at 6-7% a year, and it's just skyrocketing.
So either you crack open your nest egg and scramble that and leave nothing to your kids, or you pass that burden on to your kids who now have to try to find a way. If you need 24-hour care, heaven forbid, planning for that is part of that overall 5-star.
Yeah,
philosophy.
So there are a lot of strategies, when it comes to your health care and then legacy on what you plan on going on to your family. Because when you're in there, I mean, it's what they call Medicare spend down and Medicaid spend down, to where it gets spent down so much to a certain level to where now Medicaid picks up, and then the state starts picking it up.
And then Medicare, Medicaid, and then some states, what is it? California has their own CAL something. Or I mean, it's stuff is just, and this is where you need somebody that has that experience to be able to, to guide you. Number 4, you need to take care of yourself. Of course, that's, retirement is a time when all the bad habits of your youth come home to roost. I guess so. Well, my dad is one of them, and, he's been a lifelong smoker.
Yeah.
And he still smokes, and,
how's that going?
Not good. He's trying to quit, but it's caused a lot of health problems for him. Number 5, you have to plan for the future. Retirement is not constant. There are many stages of retirement, and that's true. Whereas retirement used to just be a year or two, now you might have 20 or 30 years to think about, and how things 30
are going to change. 30
lifetime
in retirement.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing. There's more to retirement than money. You can have all the retirement funds in the world, but still be bored, lonely, and frustrated. So I guess having a plan of what that money is going to do for you. Not just having money sitting around in the bank.
This is a big one where you got to get really clear on what's important to you and what I like to call the real purpose for your money. Because a lot of times people really aren't clear on that, and they're so used to accumulating, and then they've accumulated all this money, and then, well, what are you going to do now? What are you going to be spending your time doing?
Yeah, you better have a plan.
And then you got the flip side of that, where people don't go anywhere and they don't do anything, and they kind of put things off until retirement, and then something happens. Somebody's life changes. Where
right.
I had this one couple where the lady had just turned 65, and she passed away from cancer like very rapidly, like within 2 or 3 months when she was diagnosed. And then
we just don't know.
I just hear all these stories where the husband's going, Patrick, just don't get caught up into the trap. Do the stuff you want to be doing now. Take the trips now. Tell the people you love them now, and all that stuff, because you're not promised tomorrow. But there's like a balance there. You want to live your life today, but then you don't want to neglect.
Plan as though you're going to live forever, and live as though you're not. So, that's probably sage advice. Time is of the essence, and, that goes back to the starting early, getting planning early. Don't put it off until you're at a panic point of what to do. Getting with you sooner makes sense.
And you hear that all the time, where somebody will tell me, Pat, I wish I would have
wish I
talked
would
to
have
you
started
years
sooner.
ago, 5
Yeah,
years
how
ago,
to-
10 years ago, 20 years ago. They're like, man, the things that I've learned in just a little bit of time. And that's why I tell people, come in, the 45 minutes we spend, what if that changes the next 45 years of your life?
Talk to your loved ones about end of life decisions. That's a big one.
Yeah, nobody, yeah. And that's
It's a tough conversation.
That's a tough thing. I mean, nobody wants to think about their own mortality. And,
I know.
And talking about those things, about what to do when something happens to you. Or,
But you owe it to your loved ones for them to understand, to have a will in place, for them to understand what's happening and to plan so that you don't leave them the expense of burying you and paying for your bills after you're gone.
For sure.
So, you know.
That's huge. And not only, so here's something that I see all the time. A lot of times it's the widows coming in, because usually out of a couple, there's usually one that takes care of the finances and there's one that just doesn't care about
And
it whatsoever.
in my family, in the old days, it was dad worked and took care of the finances and mom stayed home and took care of the house. You don't see that as much anymore, but in a lot of the people that are retiring today, that's the way it was.
Yeah, so you can see the flip-flop of that, but then you get these people that come in, they got this big pile of stuff, and they're like, Patrick, my husband passed away unexpectedly. I know
they don't
nothing
know
that's
anything.
going on, and I need you to help me try to figure this
They've
stuff
never
out.
opened up a 401k statement, bank statement in their life. Or if they have it would have been a long time. So they don't even know where to start, what's in the bank, where the money is. And a lot of times people will have investments that if they don't tell people where that money is, how do they find it?
How are you going to find it?
Yeah. I mean, and this, I love this one. And it's self responsibility is that you are responsible for your own retirement. And I so many things today and in our society today, we think that there's this magical force that's going to come and save us, whether that be Social Security or whatever. But we're really responsible for talking to someone like you and planning for our retirement. How did they get in touch with you to make that, to get started, to take the retirement planning by the horns and being responsible?
Yeah, the first step, and the good thing is that I'm a pretty fun guy, and it's a pretty fun. I make a pretty good process to go through. So it's not really boring or anything like that. It's really eye-opening, and I try to make it a lot of fun. But we've got to understand first, where are you at, and what is the current path that you're on right now? So we do what we call a stress test, an analysis on all 5 stars of your current plan now. What does your income plan look like? What do your investments look like? How much risk are you taking? If we go to another big downturn and the market's dropped 50%, how much would you stand to lose, and how's that going to affect you? And then we're going to take a look at taxes, healthcare, and your legacy plan. And I'm going to give you my viewpoints on what it is that I think. Here's the path that you're on. Here are the things that you're doing that are good. And here's the stuff that you want to be fixing. If I were you, this is the stuff that I'd be fixing. And if you want to help fixing it, that's great. But to go through this whole process, it doesn't cost you a cent. You just got to take the time and the action to come in and sit down and start doing this. So give us a call, 770-545-8881. Again, the number is 770-545-8881. And pick up the phone, give us a call, and schedule a time to come in at our office here in Roswell. And again, that's 770-545-8881. And I look forward to meeting you.
And BellaAdvisors.com on the web?
BellaAdvisors.com.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. We will be back with more great retirement and investment advice. 5-Star Retirement is coming up next. And welcome back to 5-Star Retirement, helping you retire better. I'm your co-host, Chris Monroe. Patrick Mueller is alongside here, the expert with Bella Advisors that's going to help you understand how you can retire comfortably, how you can take your plan that maybe is not working so well right now, get you on a right track, or maybe you come in and he says, and I wouldn't change a thing, but I doubt that's probably the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, it's a rarity. It's a rarity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most people kind of come in and they might have like a 1-star retirement plan versus a 5-star retirement.
You don't want a
plan.
1-star retirement
You don't want a
plan.
1-star retirement plan.
No, that's
Yeah.
Walmart greeter territory and probably not good. So.
Yeah, because that's kind of what people think is people kind of get too heavy on investments and they're like, well, I tune into my investments every day, Patrick, that's what kind of keeps them busy. But
right.
There's 4 other stars they got to be paying attention to make sure they're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And I love that 5-star. I love it's very understandable. But when you start digging into those 5 stars, and we'll of course continue to talk about those throughout the show, it's pretty daunting. And not any one person really has all of this mapped out. It's very, very few people that really understand all of these things at the level that they should.
I mean, you're the best of the best, whatever it is that you're in. You know, if you think about sports, you know, even Tiger Woods has a coach.
Absolutely.
So you got to have somebody that's looking from the outside that understands what's happening to be able to correct what's happening.
And I think for some people, you know, talking about money or is one of those taboo items or something. They don't want to tell you how much they make, or and you know, I'd say, what do you really don't have anything to lose coming in to talk to you, and that consultation and that deep dive and that what you call it, the stress test is free.
It's free. Yeah, 100% free. Yeah, you got to understand where you're at and the current path that you're on and the stuff you need to be paying attention to.
We talked a little bit about Social Security, and there's one of those things that you know what you don't know or you should know, and a lot of that is about Social Security. I mean, talk about something that, you know, who studies Social Security until you need it? I mean, you don't, it's not something you sit around and go, I'm going to study how I'm going to, what Social Security is about, unless you're just an uber geek and that's kind of what you want to do. But, let's talk about some of the things that you should be aware of that can help you maximize your Social Security income in retirement.
Yeah. So if you're a couple between the ages of 62 and 70, there's actually 590 different ways that you can file for your Social Security. So, I mean, leave it to the government to make things so incredibly complicated.
No. And then they would never do that.
And then they can't give you help on what the best strategy is for you. That's really important. So you are meeting with somebody so they can take a look at what your benefits are and what they would be at, for an example, full retirement age. And what that means is that you're somewhere between the ages of 66 and 67, depending on when you're born, is when your full retirement age is going to be. So that's when you can take your full benefits and you can actually still keep making as much money as you want to, and they can't reduce your benefits. You can take it as early as 62. So each year earlier that you're taking it, you're getting an 8% decrease in your income. And then each year you defer it past your full retirement age, you can defer it all the way up until age 70. And you're getting an 8% increase up until age 70 on that lifetime income.
And I can guarantee you the government is rooting for a lot of folks to take that early payout, because that, what did you say? Every year it's 8%?
8%.
Lifetime. So, they want people to take it early so that
with people living longer than ever.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're really, it's usually people are breaking even like on the difference there, probably in the early 70s, and they don't realize that. So if you plan on living past your early 70s, then it makes sense to revert a lot of times.
Yeah, it's especially if you've got the means to live comfortably without it, and helping people plan toward that. So most people, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's got zero assets, right, to live off of,
they have no choice.
Then you want to defer it as long as you can possibly defer it and get the most money that you can get out of Social Security.
Absolutely.
But if you got assets, then that's a different story. It's, a lot of times it makes sense to take it a little bit earlier versus spending down your own assets.
We talk a lot about taxes, and most of the time we're talking about federal income tax, but there's so many taxes. And of course, Social Security is no different than that. 6.2% payroll tax is what most workers pay. If you're self-employed, you pay the other half that your employer would typically pick up for 12. So you're paying almost 12.5%, of your income if you're self-employed into Social Security. And that can be, there's of course a lot of talk about people that would love to be able to take that and privatize that, be able to take that money into better investments, but it is what it is for now.
And then think about that, right? You're taking the money out, and then depending on what your income level is, once you start taking Social Security, they start taxing you on your Social Security benefits as income. So this started back with Ronald Reagan when he was president, where once you're a couple and you're over $32,000 in income combined, then they start taxing you on your Social Security benefits. 50% of your Social Security benefits are now taxed.
So wait a second. So do they actually withhold the money back? So it's like just taking the money that you've paid in, and then say, no, we're going. So it's almost like a double tax, really.
Yeah. So then Bill Clinton thought this was so great that now if you're over $44,000 in combined income, now you're at 85% of your Social Security benefits are added in as income.
So again, you're penalizing people that want to continue to be productive and work. So that could be a whole nother conversation that we could probably go down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, there's so many rabbit holes we could go down.
$132,900 tax cap. This was the Social Security maximum taxable amount of earnings in 2019. What does that mean?
What that means is that if you make $200,000, then they're going to stop taxing you at that mark. What was it, $139,000?
$132,900. I'm sure it probably goes up a little bit every year.
Yeah, it goes up a little bit every year. So they're going to tax you at that amount up until that level. So then if you're a high income earner, you stop paying that tax.
Okay, so you actually stop paying that tax.
But then they cap you off on your Social Security too, on how much the maximum amount that you can possibly get out of Social Security too.
Right.
Which is about $2,900 a month.
These are eye-glazing formulas, I'm sure, that will blow your mind.
Super boring stuff, honestly. I mean, even though this is what I do for a living, I mean, it's not like the most exciting stuff, but we take all this stuff and we make it relevant to where you understand how this is really going to affect you.
And that's so
retirement.
important, because it is an important topic, that people don't think about. They put it off. We're trying to make ends meet every month. We're trying to pay for the kids' braces in college and the car repair, and Fido needs, to go to the vet. And, it's an amazing amount, but you've got to think about this stuff. And the earlier you do, the better off you're going to be for not only yourself, but for your children and your family.
Yeah. The sooner you talk to somebody and you get on top of that stuff, the better. It's so important. I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to take a little bit of time. You're going to understand more about your personal situation and things you want to be paying attention to. And it can make a huge difference when you start planning now, like we've been talking before when we talk about taxes, which is one of the stars of a 5-star retirement plan, and how you're putting money away and how those taxes can be affecting you in the future. When you're putting your money away and deferring your taxes into a 401k or an IRA, and not paying the taxes on that money, is just compounding and compounding. And a lot of times it's people's number one asset by the time that they retire, more than their house, more than everything else. And I'll give you a quick example here, and hopefully it's not too many numbers that I'm throwing out there, but I just did this tax analysis for this couple that was in the early 60s. And the amount of money they had doesn't make so much of a difference, but they had about $1.5 million worth of tax deferred money between their IRAs and the 401ks. And between the ages of 70 and 90 is what I did this analysis through. So with the required minimum distributions of what the government forces you to take out each year to pay your income taxes on, they didn't need that to live off of. So they're just going to be taking that money and reinvesting it.
Okay.
So I had it growing at just a 5% growth rate, taking out 1% for fees, and had them at a 25% tax bracket. So between the ages of 70 and 90, they were going to pay, it was $550,000 in taxes over that 20-year period of time on the required minimum distribution. That money that they took and they reinvested it, they were going to pay another $250,000 in taxes on the gains. And then the tax bill doesn't go away when you die. So the value of the IRA at age 90, the tax bill to the kids was going to be another $350,000.
This is just making me mad now, Patrick. I'm sure it made them not so happy either. But there's ways that you can help mitigate
100%.
some of this.
So out of the $1.5 million IRA, they're going to pay $1.1 million in taxes.
So,
Yeah, so the sooner you know about that stuff,
the
better, because then you can change your strategy, because right now you're on the government's plan. And how many times is that the best plan for you?
That is generally not the best plan. So $1,461 is the average payment in Social Security per month in 2019. That's not a lot of money. That's, I assume that probably means a lot of folks are taking very early at 62. But if that's all that you're going to live on in 30 years from now, that's probably not going to be enough.
Yeah, so. and they don't realize the impact of inflation, because the government uses the consumer price index, they call it the CPI index, on how they give you raises on your Social Security each year, but they started subtracting things out of that. So they subtract out healthcare costs, they subtract out energy costs, they subtract out consumables. So you're not getting a real rate of inflation. They're making it sound like it's zero, but it's a lot of money.
So this is just a little bit of this list that we talked about of things that you probably don't know about Social Security, but guess what? This guy does. Patrick wants to sit down and talk to you about how you can avoid taking and cracking open a nest egg of $1.5 million and paying most of that in taxes. How can folks get in touch with you, Patrick, and Bella Advisors?
Yeah, give us a call here. Let me give you the number. It's 770-545-8881, and schedule a time to come in and sit down and talk with us. And what we do is we're going to do a stress test and analysis on your current situation. So we bring all the stuff we talk about every single week, and we bring it to real life for you and how that's going to impact you. So when can you retire? What is your retirement going to look like? What people want to know when they go through this process is, are we going to be okay? Well, we're going to figure out the answers to those questions. And then there are 5 stars to your retirement plan. So we got your income plan, investments, taxes, healthcare, and your legacy plan. And I'm going to give you my observations on what I see in each one of those different areas. Here's what's good that you're doing. Here's what you want to be paying attention to. Here are the pitfalls, things that we would be fixing if we were you.
you've spent a life amassing $1 million or more in retirement assets. You don't want to spend 90% of that to the government, I would imagine. So let's make sure that you're calling in, get that appointment set up, and you're going to be glad you did. All right, coming up, we have one more segment on 5-star retirement. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back to 5-Star Retirement. Patrick Mueller alongside Chris Monroe, co-host here for another segment, and we are into our lightning round of questions that have come in.
Yeah,
we're going to try to
like
get to as many of them as we can. Of course, there's so many questions, and this is just touching the iceberg. And of course, we'll give your contact information in full again here as we get to the end of the broadcast and the end of this segment. But let's start with this. Pete in Milton. I have not yet retired. I'm considering purchasing an immediate annuity, which we haven't talked about, using all the funds in my 403B plan upon retirement. Would the annuity distribution satisfy the required minimum distributions? How will placing the entire amount in an annuity be taxed, and how will the monthly payments be taxed? A lot in that question there.
Oh man, that was a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
But if you roll your, whether it's a 401k or an IRA or this 403b, it's all tax deferred money. So
That's the teachers or the governments. It's the same thing, but It's like a 401k. The government loves their little numbers and stuff on there.
They do, yeah. So if you got letters and numbers, you made some kind of deal with the government.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you made a deal with the government. So the deal here is you're going to defer those taxes. So every dollar that you take out is all taxed as ordinary income. So if you're moving that you would move it over into an IRA, and he wants to move it into an immediate annuity.
An immediate
annuity. So what you're doing is you're giving all that money to an insurance company. They're going to guarantee you a monthly cash flow for as long as you live, or if you've got a spouse, then they'll give you maybe a joint option on how much you'll get a little bit less of a payment each month, but then they're going to guarantee that for both of your lifetimes, which you definitely want to make sure that you're protecting your spouse if you pass away prematurely. But those payments are going to come in monthly, and you're going to be taxed as ordinary income of whatever that amount is that you're getting every single month.
So not taxed on the rollover into the annuity, but on the monthly payment.
On the monthly payments,
whatever's being dispersed,
which is going to be stretched out over the lifetime.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And of course, I've heard many different things.
Like a pension.
Okay, so that makes sense. And I've heard all sorts of different things about annuities. For some people, they're the best thing since sliced bread, and for some people, they say avoid them. I guess it just depends on the person. And
well, they're all tools in a toolbox, and that's what people really need to understand, especially these things. They're all tools, and they're all designed to help you accomplish something very specific. So like the immediate annuity that we're talking about, it's like creating your own pension.
Okay.
It's just everybody, there's not a single person I've ever met that's like, I don't like getting that money in every single month.
Sure.
There's not a single person that would give up their pension. But if you pass away prematurely, if there was a cash value that was still there, it goes to the insurance company or the pension company. It doesn't go to your family.
There are some annuities I know that are bad deals out there that have a lot of front-loaded fees and that kind of thing. And another, you get that thing in the mail and you don't know what it is. Oh, this sounds like a good idea. Don't go into that pitfall without talking to Patrick first, and understanding your options.
Yeah, because I spend a lot of time getting people out of the wrong types of annuities and getting them into what they should have been in the whole time.
Yeah, don't make that mistake. Jamie in Woodstock, my current advisor group only invest in stocks and ETFs or electronically traded funds, or isn't that right? ETFs?
ETFs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exchange traded funds.
Exchange traded funds. That was not like, well, they are electronic too. So, my new advisor group only invest in their own products. If I sell off my current advisor holdings, will I incur extra income and pay more income tax on the sell-off?
You could, depending on the tax classification of that money. So you could pay, if it's an after-tax account, then if there are gains, like what they put you, the stocks that they put you into, if they grew, then you're going to pay capital gains tax on that money. But if it's an IRA account, then if you're taking the money out, you're not going to be taxed on that. It'll still be in your IRA account. You're not going to pay taxes till you take it out and you decide to spend it.
There's so many gotchas. And that's where you have to have a coach, because literally they make it easy to do all this stuff online, a few clicks here, but a few clicks on your phone and calling Patrick could save you a lot of money. And that's what we want to do.
We save people so much money because we do a fee analysis. Not only do a fee analysis, but the tax analysis.
Sure.
And between those two things, we save folks so much money on their taxes, or at least make things more tax efficient. and get rid of a lot of those excess fees that you don't realize that you're paying. Most people don't know how many hands are in their cookie jar just pulling money out.
Yeah.
And if you want to know how many hands are in your cookie jar actually pulling money out, then that's time well spent going through this process.
I'm sure. I haven't seen this name in a long time. The last time I think I saw it was Leif Garrett. Remember the 70s singer?
Yeah. What song did he sing?
Was that Born to Be Alive or was that Patrick Hernandez? No. I was made for dancing. That was Leif Garrett, I think. I'm dating myself now, man. I really date. Look at our producers over here are smirking. And they're like, "Oh man, dude." He wants to know. He is in Roswell. He wants to know. I was advised to roll my 401k plan from a previous employer into a traditional IRA, which I did. I haven't made any contributions to it since rolling it over. It has grown very little. I have a new 401k with my employer. Should I roll that traditional IRA into the new 401k account? So, taking that and putting it into his new employer's 401k.
Yeah, to me, the goal, number one, you're in Roswell, which is great because that's where our office is. So
it's always right
we're in
down
the same
road.
neighborhood. Yeah. So, just come on down and pop on in. But when it comes to your 401k, the goal of a 401k is as soon as you can get your money out of a 401k, the better. Because you've got additional administrative fees inside of that 401k. So most companies at 59.5, you can start rolling that money out, or if you've left an employer already. So once you get it into your own individual IRA, now you're in 100% control over what's going on inside of your investments. You got a lot of times 401ks, it can be very limited in your investment options, especially when it comes to things that are safe and protected from loss. So when you get in your own individual IRA, you're going to be paying less in fees more than likely, and you got a whole world of other options that you can be putting your money into that's probably more in line with what you need at that stage in your life.
It makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of folks will have a 401k and then they forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say
out of sight, out of mind.
Move around jobs so much today. I worked for a little while. I was in between jobs. I worked for a temp agency. This was years ago, but they had a 401k plan. So
the temp agency had a 401k plan?
Agency had a 401k plan. How about that? So I actually had money that 10 years later I found that had grown quite considerably and didn't know, and I was able to roll it over into my portfolio, so my Roth IRA.
Was that a happy day?
It was a happy day. When you find money, it's like finding a $20 pocket in that coat. That is a great day, right?
It's the best.
It's the little things in life. So Jessica in Lawrenceville, an IRA is being willed to me, so she's receiving it in a will. If I inherit it before the age of 59.5, can I have it sent directly to my own IRA? And what are the tax implications? Good question.
Oh, man, I wish there was like a buzzer that we could have go off.
Yeah,
like Clark Howard's got that buzzer.
Right.
He's got that buzzer. We could have one go off. Exactly. Yeah, what you don't want to do, so this is all tax-deferred income, right? That's in that IRA.
Right.
So if it changes ownership to your IRA, you're going to get a 1099 for that full amount of whatever that money was for that year, and it's going to add to your existing income. So it could put you up into a much higher tax bracket, and you got way more going to the government.
It's no different than Bob Barker and now Drew Carey giving you something on The Price is Right, and you get a 1099 for it as income for that car that you won, that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, who expected that?
Ooh, 1099 play. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, and everything I can look at all the time now is, yep, you won that $30,000 car, but man, you're going to have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah. So for an example, kids inherit it. They spend the money. They go and buy a sports car. Let's use that same analogy, right? They go buy a sports car, and then at the end of the year, they get a 1099 for that sports car that they just bought. So what are they going to do to pay that tax bill now?
Talk about hands in the cookie jar. There's always people, the government wants that money. They want that money.
So you can keep that. You can keep that IRA, and you can roll it over into an inherited IRA account. So it stays out of your name. Now they still have to take a required minimum distribution from it. So when you inherit
that's still part of that.
So they can take it out little by little each year.
Okay.
But they're not going to be forced to take it out as a lump sum.
Gotcha. That's a great question. I mean, and I'm sure that a lot of people have probably made that mistake.
I can't tell you how many people think that. Well, can't I just roll that over into my own IRA? Yeah, if you want to pay all the taxes on it now.
Yikes. And we heard from Artie in Stone Mountain. My spouse and I are 70 and 67 years old, respectively, and retired. We have a fixed and variable annuity. Is this a good investment for monthly income? We sometimes need extra income for things like home maintenance, etc.
It depends on more specifics on those accounts. So typically a fixed annuity is giving you a fixed interest rate and is good, and your money is safe. So you could be spending that money each year pretty consistently. A variable annuity, just by the name, it's going to vary in value. So you're nothing more than you're in a bunch of mutual funds. So they can go up in value depending on what you're invested in. They can go down in value. And typically those things are pretty expensive in the variable annuities. Average fees that I see are between about 3 and 5% a year. And nobody thinks that they're paying those fees. So
just in fees, 3 to 5%. That could be pretty significant.
Just in fees. I had this guy. We called up. He didn't think he's paying anything in fees. He had $600,000, and he was paying 5% as a minimum in fees. So he's paying $30,000 a year just to have his money sitting there, and that's 1 year.
Is there anything in the law or anything like that they have to disclose this stuff in statements?
They do disclose it. It's just they give you that thick prospectus, right? And it's up to you to go through that inch thick thing.
And they bury it down on page 26. Yeah, that you're paying that money. Wow.
You just got to know the right questions to ask.
And you again, it's knowing what you don't know, and that's where Patrick Bella Advisors 5-star retirement plan helps you take and avoid these pitfalls. I mean, you've worked so hard for this money all your life to put it away. You don't want to give it away to fees and the government, and all that. So how do folks get in touch with you to get set up?
They can go to our website. They can go to bellaadvisors.com, BELLA advisors.com, or just give us a call here, 770-545-8881. Again, that's 770-545-8881. Give us a call. We'll sit down. We'll do a stress test analysis on your current retirement plan. And you're going to gain a ton of clarity by going through this process. Absolutely free.
And it's only $10,000 for that. It's free. See, I thought it cost. No, I'm kidding. So it's a free. I mean, you have nothing to lose except for a whole bunch of money that you're going to pay to Uncle Sam or in fees.
Exactly. We don't want that. So, give us a buzz, 770-545-8881, and I look forward to meeting you.
Well, there's absolutely no reason folks shouldn't do that. I know your phone's going to be ringing all week, and such a great show again with you, Patrick. Look forward to it next time.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, for Patrick Mueller, I'm Chris Monroe for 5-Star Retirement. We'll see you next time.